with overnight lows in the teens and 20s. This translates to about 12 to 15 degrees colder than normal. In some areas of the state, new record low temperatures were established on April 21 and April 22nd. Among those set on April 21 were Caledonia, 22 degrees. St. Cloud, 21 degrees. Redwood Falls, 20 degrees. Zumbrota, 19. Browns Valley, 18. Madison, Minnesota, 17. Grand Portage and Preston, 16. And Pipestone, 12. Then on April 22nd, a few more record lows were Browns Valley, 19. Long Prairie, 18. And Pipestone, 15. To the Edina bureaucrat, I would say this. The sun does not rise and set in Edina. Edina represents a tiny pinprick on the globe, and what Edina does will not change the climate in Edina or anywhere else across the globe. If the goal is to reduce carbon emissions, then that has to be done by the 193 nations of the world, not by a handful of small towns scattered across the globe. Thank you. Now, let me stick with that because I have another email. Excuse me.
Perfect health.
Well, here's Kelsey. Thank God Edina is straightening out their creeks and California emission standards are coming to Minnesota. And he linked me to an article that shows that China is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than all other developed nations combined. It was a Breitbart story. China accounts for 27% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the world. And yet John Kerry's going to meet with Xi. And he's going to straighten them out. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we have a damn thing to worry about.
Well, here I can.
And they'll play along with us as long as we don't call them on their humanitarian issues.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Chiefs roll.
No, that's Philippe Cunningham.
You offset your carbon. It's the only choice for somebody like me who is traveling the world to win this battle.
Yep.
I negotiated the Paris Accords. For the United States. I've been involved in this fight for years. I negotiated with President Xi to bring President Xi to the table so we could get Paris. And I believe the time it takes me to get somewhere, I can't sail across the ocean. I have to fly to meet with people and get things done. So what I'm doing almost full time is working to win the battle of climate change. And in the end, if I offset and contribute my life to do this, I'm not going to be put on the defensive.
Well, John, Xi left you leaving there dressed in a barrel because he didn't give a bleep what you said, and they have not. They might have come to the table, but they're not doing they'll do what they want, John. They'll do what they want.
Joe, he's sacrificed his life to fight this battle
with a big axe.
That's true. There is no battle, but he has sacrificed his life for it.
Flying in a private plane.
Back to the cool spring. Hail the Flashlight King.
Hail you.
Joe, you've lamented the lack of spring the last week, and on Monday mentioned March was warmer than April. What we are experiencing, and has not been reported by our local or national weather parrots, is that we are in a very deep La Nina. It started last July and could last through the summer and into next winter. For us in the upper Midwest, we experience our weather with flip-flops of months. Remember last October? Cold and snow. November, moderate. December, almost a brown Christmas. January, mild. February, brutal. March, warm. April, cool. NOAA has been tracking El Nino and La Nina cycles since the 50s. You can guess why it hasn't been reported. A La Nina is the opposite of an El Nino. It's a cooling of the Pacific Ocean. The closest comparable cycle is between 2010 and 2012, and it was very dry and cool for us. That's from David. He's an engineer. He linked me to everything I need to know. Here's my fear. We're just going to have one of those non-summers. We're going to have one of those summers when 70 is going to be considered a warm day.
Yes.
No.
Oh, God. Are you in favor of that, Reavers?
Oh, I love 70. If it was 75 as a high and 40 as a, or no, I couldn't be 40.
Perfect.
It would be perfect.
Oh,
hey,
God.
Did you guys see the
sweat.
email from Jordy, by the way, speaking of carbon footprint?
Which one?
About the resurfacing of the 1963 Chrysler turbine car?
No.
It was one of 55 that were built to evaluate the use of turbine engines as part of an automobile powertrain and given to real-world drivers for short loans. I had not heard of that. It resurfaced on a private sale. And he said, well, a turbine-powered car, what would that do for carbon footprints?
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool-looking Chrysler, by the way.
What's the hack of the Colonial Pipeline going to do to the carbon footprint? Long lines now established at gas stations up and down the eastern seaboard. I just don't have confidence that the Biden cabinet cares deeply enough about this. They should, but it doesn't fit their green agenda to care deeply about this. It's an embarrassment. It's a world embarrassment that we are a computer button away from ruination. I will not pretend to understand hacking. I don't pretend to understand ransomware, although I understand it means we got your device shut off, and until you pay us what we want, we're not turning it back on, thus the ransom. The larger point being that should be considered infrastructure, and it should be highly, highly updated and highly protected. I think we look foolish to the world. That
Of course we do.
Some guy named Igor is sitting over there in Bulgaria or wherever, and he pressed a button, and we lost 45% of the fuel that we deliver from Texas to the East Coast. That includes jet fuel. American Airlines now has to plan different routes for their long flights because they got to stop where somebody has fuel so they can get some more. I see no reason why it wouldn't be coming here. It's a great, I don't want to get conspiratorial, but it's a great opportunity for the occasional cortexes of the world to play this card and not be in any hurry to resume gas on demand, because it fits their agenda of there should be no gas on demand. There should be no automobile traffic. We have dedicated our lives to the theology that fossil fuels have ruined the earth. They have not, of course. Not even close. But I have no confidence that the Biden administration will do anything to secure us when it comes to gasoline and jet fuel. I think there's far more to the Colonial Pipeline story than we know. I think possibly this country is far more vulnerable to cyber attacks than we've ever imagined. I don't know who in the government Biden can put on high alert to fix this and prevent it in the future, but I see no great hope that this will be fixed or prevented in the future. The one thing, maybe you guys can help me, the one thing I haven't understood is, so the Colonial Pipeline was hacked, and I'm struggling to understand what that means. But did it mean that the Colonial Pipeline had to turn off the flow of fuel?
From what I
Obviously, it must
understand.
have. It must have.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's now a shortage of fuel in the Northeast. So that must have meant that Colonial Pipeline, once they realize they're hacked, they have to turn off. Why? I wonder. That part I haven't been able to discern. Well, we got hacked, so we got to shut this thing off. Well,
Oh, that's not the way I understood it. I understood it that the hackers shut it down.
Shut it down.
okay, that makes more
And
sense then.
didn't I read it was Russia?
Yeah.
Well, Eastern
They-
Europe
It did
Yeah.
come from Russia. And Joe, I don't know why you're so afraid. Biden said he's going to talk to Putin about this.
Yeah, and
Look
Putin,
into the bottom.
Well,
and then
This-
and then Biden will leave Putin dressed in a barrel.
This
Right,
isn't
right.
exactly news. Do you remember last year
Right. Yes,
when
I did.
Commerce, Treasury, the military, everybody got hacked by the Russians?
Yep.
Yeah, and the same reaction basically from people. How can this happen? So,
We look
they're-
like fools. We look
I would
like
hope
fools.
they're working on it. I would hope.
Hold on, I'll do this for you, John.
I'm
We
embarrassed.
don't know that.
Joe, we not only look like fools, we are fools.
Well, on day one, Biden killed the XL pipeline.
Yep.
But I asked you this rhetorically before the show, Joe. Does any of this surprise you? When this administration took over, we all knew that this was going to happen.
I had naive hopes that he wouldn't be drawn so instantly into the vortex of the mystery. I had vague hopes. They've been erased. I have no hope at all.
God, he spent the
anymore.
first week writing executive orders.
I know. I have no hope for this fellow. None. It's getting harder and harder and harder to see what I know to be the United States. It's
Yeah,
just
screw
getting
this
harder.
fella. No help for us. No hope for us as a nation.
Well, and listen to this. Minnesota is set to receive $2.83 billion in federal aid, a more than $250 million bump from what the state had initially expected. The U.S. Treasury Department announced yesterday. Department officials published an outline of the roughly $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act, along with more detailed guidelines for how states, counties, local governments, and other entities could use the funds. And they said the first part of the funding would be sent out this week. The guidelines come as state lawmakers debate over the state's next two-year budget, with the final day of Minnesota's 2021 legislative session scheduled for this coming Monday by midnight. Legislative leaders and the governor have yet to announce spending targets, stalling some of the progress budget committees can make in setting top priorities for the state's roughly $52 billion proposal. American lawmakers could go into overtime if they can't reach a deal by May 17th, but they have a hard deadline of June 30 to pass a budget or risk a state government shutdown. Why? This is your money and my money being sent out under what's called a rescue plan. And I heard Walls on the 11 a.m. news this morning on TV saying, let's think about using this for childcare, for example. What does that have to do with infrastructure, a rescue plan, and a COVID? It has nothing. We have no counter. Well, we have a legislative Republicans who are desperate to counteract this, but they're having a hard time. The payments in Minnesota are part of $350 billion in aid to state and local governments coming this month, the Biden administration and Treasury said. With this funding, communities hit hard by COVID will be able to return to a semblance of normalcy, Janet Yellen, she's the Treasury Secretary, said. They'll be able to rehire teachers, them. They haven't even worked. Firefighters and other essential workers, and to help small businesses reopen safely. The Treasury Department also made it clear Monday that it would insist the relief money cannot be used to subsidize tax cuts, directly or indirectly. The American Rescue Plan ensures that funds needed to provide vital services and support public employees, and small businesses and families struggling to make it through the pandemic are not used to fund reductions in net tax revenue. If the funds provided have been used to offset tax cuts, the amount used for this purpose must be paid back to the Treasury. Okay. I don't understand it. Turn down the damn money, but that'll never happen.
Of course it won't.
We're a Democratic state.
The old Jesse bit.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to spend it.
And with the free college, or excuse me, free community college, that was part of the last rescue plan, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it might be part of this one. This is the $1.9 trillion deal.
okay, because I think the president and I have opposing views of the word free, because someone's paying the bill.
We are, and the entire security of the country is being threatened by this wanton spending. What do these people think? You don't have to be responsible for the debt you're accumulating? Does
Yes,
anybody
that's
in
what
Washington? Does anybody in Washington care about this?
No.
Is there any adults who are going to say we got to stop this? We can't just keep printing money. In the meantime, just get hacked anytime Eastern Europe wants to hack us. Russia, Putin, China. Oh man, we're in trouble. We're in trouble.